We're driving the all-new 2024 Subaru Crosstrek. It's an all-wheel drive hatchback SUV kind of thing. Coming up, we're gonna see how this thing fares off-road, but let's begin with interior.
There's definitely a utilitarian vibe. The colors are all a similar shade. One area that adds some visual interest is this plastic here with this texture to it. That faux carbon fiber look is also here on the gear selector, although it is surrounded by dusty, fingerprint-filled, shiny black plastic.
I appreciate the restraint in not using the shiny black plastic up here in the prime touch zones, but it does feel like clean sweep. Maybe just make this area around the gear selector, since this is going to be an off-road vehicle possibly with plenty of dust rolling around, make that the same faux carbon fiber as over here.
Very user-friendly from a utility perspective. Deep pocket in the door that my phone fits in. Door holders don't always fit my big Contigo mug. Hooray! It fits.
I also like that there is a phone zone front and center with adjacent power ports and an aux-in, which is a real throwback. Do you still use an aux-in in your car? If so, tell us in the comments.
The center console is really deep. It's not wide, but if you have a weird cat meme book, it'll fit right in.
Now, a feature we have in the Wilderness trim are these water repellent seats.
Mine isn't as adjustable as yours. I have a manual adjustment.
Look at me showboating over here. Ooh, angling forward, angling back.
But still extremely comfortable.
I also appreciate the amount of lateral support here. It's not like constricting, but it does hold you in our endless turns through our mountain community. Moving to the back seats, there is enough room for me, the ultimate average male at 5'10", long torso. It checks bags mix of knee clearance. My head does clear too. When you get in, it feels like it might be tight, and then you sit up and it's like, oh, yeah, no, it works. And I like how the front seats sit high enough up that your feet can slide underneath them. One complaint on my daughter's behalf, there are not rear seat vents back there. I'm looking out for you, kid.
Thank you.
For cargo space, there are around 20 cubic feet available. It's a little bit smaller than, let's say, the HR-V from Honda or the Kia Seltos, but I think it is a workable space, and you have standard 60/40 split fold seats. There is no underfloor area like you have, let's say, in the Subaru Impreza, which is basically the same thing but lower, but I appreciate that because instead of underfloor storage, there's a spare tire back there. That was one of my complaints with the Subaru Impreza. It only had a tire repair kit, and for this one in particular, if you're gonna go off-road, having a spare tire is especially helpful. It's not a full-size spare, but a temporary spare is better than nothing.
One thing I appreciate about the cargo area is that it's sunk in a little bit so that if you load it up with groceries, your canned goods won't go rolling up the back.
Kiddo, how do you find getting in and out of this vehicle? And I ask specifically because, like the Impreza we drove a few weeks back, this is the same vehicle, but taller. Any issues getting in and out? It's a little bit higher, but not so bad that a kid can't get in. And then what about getting a child seat installed, sweetie?
The latch points are covered with latch flaps. It was very easy to install our booster seat. There are latch points so that you could install one car seat in the middle position, which is a safer position.
Speaking of safety, neither the NHTSA nor IIHS have rated the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek, but traditionally the Crosstrek fares pretty darn well with crash tests. As for active safety tech, there are things like lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking. We have 8 airbags in here, and there's also an adaptive cruise system. Family, what do we think? Is the Subaru Crosstrek family friendly?
It's a little bit on the small side, especially in the cargo area as compared to what's available in the rest of the subcompact segment. So I don't think we can give it the family-friendly label.
But if your budget or lifestyle demand a Crosstrek, you can make this work. Rear window test. All the way down. Armrest test. Driving in a comfortable 8 and 4, I have a really hard time reaching the outboard armrest. The inboard armrest is a little bit more accessible. There's some stitching on the edge here, but it's not so bad. And as I'm doing this, I'm reminded that we did the exact same armrest test in a Subaru Impreza, and I'll bet I don't get the numbers exactly correct, even though the vehicle is basically the same. I'm gonna go 85% inboard, 65% outboard. Oh no, I'm showing how subjective this test is. Hey, would you like to see more videos like this where we review cars as a family plus the occasional helicopter adventure? If you would, you're welcome to subscribe, and if you really like what we're doing, you can also hit that join button for our channel. Moving onward to style. It's really cool driving this after driving the Subaru Impreza, because the Impreza was like the clean rendition, and then the Crosstrek's like, we better add a bunch of black plastic to the outside. How else will you know it's rugged?
Turns out I prefer my Subaru with a bunch of crap on it.
Oh, good.
Especially the features that are here because of the Wilderness package we have. That big matte piece on the front.
It's an anti-glare decal.
Oh.
The glare has to come from here instead. Actually being blinded by it.
The rear with that huge Subaru logo, like no doubt what you're driving. It should be a little much, but I like it.
Now that big Subaru logo comes specifically on the Wilderness trim that we're driving here. And the Wilderness is also distinguished by unique front and rear bumpers, a bunch of bronze accents on the outside.
And also those huge Wilderness badges.
I'll be honest, that would be the first thing I would remove if this were mine. I like a cleaner design. By the way, sweetie, I have to give you bonus points for perfectly matching the aesthetic of the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. Sometimes the universe wants you to look exactly like the car you're driving. Generally speaking, we like the look of the Subaru Crosstrek, but what do you think? Do you like the Crosstrek? If so, if no, tell us in the comment section. In motion! I've got a right-hand corner here, and we have a Subaru Crosstrek, which is several inches taller than a Subaru Impreza. And yet, as I go around the corners, it doesn't feel like it's on its tiptoes. It doesn't feel like it's lost any of that cornering confidence. The steering ratio is just as quick as the Subaru Impreza, so it does have sort of an agile feel. Oh, like this? Whee! On our roads, which are oftentimes damaged because of just winter wear, this thing rides over that stuff really well. There is a plushness in the suspension that would work really well for commuter duty. As noted in our Impreza review, the continuously variable transmission in the Crosstrek functions really nicely. There's mild emulation of an automatic transmission, so it feels somewhat familiar. As I ease into the accelerator, fairly quick reactions, we get that rise in RPM, get the acceleration we need. We're driving the larger 2.5-liter engine, which is offered on higher trims. There is a less powerful 2-liter engine, and I suspect that's less satisfying to drive. But in terms of power delivery, I have no complaints about the CVT. And there's even a manual mode, and I used this when we were doing car-to-car coverage, and that made it pretty easy to stay right in that video pocket and to accelerate out of pocket when I needed to. I find that the brakes have a touchy feel, not so much when applying, but when coming off. And that happens when you're coming to a stop. In fact, I'm going to come to a stop right now. And as you start to get closer to actually stopping, you have to let off a little bit. And it's very hard to let off smoothly for that limo-like stop. Though I did stop, and I'm going to credit myself rather than the car for making that happen. All right, that's enough of me talking. Let's see what Evie thinks. Evie's at the wheel. When you pull out here to the right, floor it. How's that power feel off the line?
Ooh, that feels good.
That is not always the case with the CVT. Sometimes they feel laggy from a start. What about steering? Endless corners, how's that feel?
It's not exciting to steer this, but it is reassuring. I have no trouble getting it to go where I want to.
I know it's the same size as an Impreza, so it is a small vehicle, but it does sit up a little bit higher. Do you feel like it's a bigger vehicle, or does it still feel quite manageable?
I think I enjoy having a little bit higher of a view, and it's super reassuring when I have to go over the huge pine cones in our neighborhood.
You wouldn't think driving over pine cones would be a problem. It's a legit thing here. It's like, I don't know, either I'm going to hit that squirrel or that pine cone. I guess I have to hit the pine cone, scrape. And then what about visibility? Any issues seeing out?
The only issue I've had is over my right shoulder. That rear quarter window is very tiny, and I do wonder about changing lanes. I don't do that here when I drive.
We've got no lanes to change to.
But I could see how it might be an issue on the freeway.
Yeah, but if you were like being overtaken by a mountain lion or something like that, you may not see it because of the small window. On your left. If you were in the market for a compact SUV hatchback thing, would you feel comfortable driving a Subaru Crosstrek?
Absolutely.
Sweetie's feeling comfortable. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. That's what Sweetie thinks. Now, we did tease at the beginning of the video we were going to take this thing off-road. Let's do that now. We're off-road. Now, the Crosstrek has a few different features that enable it to be a little bit more capable off-road than, let's say, an Impreza. Item number one is ground clearance. You've got at least 8.7 inches of ground clearance in the basic, and then 9.3 inches of ground clearance in the Wilderness we're driving here. We do have a metal skid plate up front, and there is some metal protection around the engine area. As you move backward, that protection gets a little bit softer, a little more plastic. We also have a couple of modes to choose from. We can go to snow and dirt if things are light. On the higher trims, you can go into a deep snow and mud setting. Now let's go into snow and dirt mode, and we've got a little hill here where there is some angle, and it never reads on camera, but it's actually kind of steep. We also have a couple of ruts we have to contend with. So let's see if we can get some power to the ground. Okay, there we go. Got some wheel spin, and then it's gonna break the wheels that are spinning, and that'll help redirect power to the tires that have proper grip, and up we go, no problem.
Well done.
Oh, actually, this is kind of a fun moment. Left rear tire is up in the air. We are at an extreme angle right now, and some credit for the fact that we're not slipping down this hill goes to the Yokohama Geolander tires. They're all-terrain tires, and they're giving us some of that off-road grip we have here. Now let's just keep moving and see what happens. Oh, obstacle detected. Well, yeah, we're pointed straight at the ground.
The earth.
Yes. Look out, the earth is in front of you. Here we go.
I can release my grip now.
What was clenching? Your hands or... We do have a rock in the road. Let's see how we clear it. No problem. One other thing we have in the Wilderness that the standard Crosstrek doesn't have is a quicker final drive ratio, which gives us more torque multiplication when going up really steep terrain. Here we go. We're kind of a little bit tippy here. Let's see if we can move forward. Yeah. Nice. Now, if you appreciate rugged capabilities in your cars, you may also appreciate the rugged capabilities of Flying Eyes eyewear. Thanks to their Resilimide construction, they're unbelievably thin, durable, flexible, and resilient. They work great in a helicopter environment because the thin temples allow for very good noise cancellation with noise-canceling headsets, and they work great in their normal lives. If you're curious what Flying Eyes eyewear might mean for you and your life, click the link in the description below. If you use the promo code Micah, you can save 10% on Flying Eyes. For truly serious off-roading, I would still prefer my Bronco, but for going to trails, even some semi-medium, moderate level difficulty trails, I think the Crosstrek would do just great. We are duly impressed. Now let's get back on road. Overall, we've got enhanced off-road abilities, but it doesn't seem to be hindering the Crosstrek's on-road performance. Moving on to remarks. Remark number one, infotainment. There's a standard dual 7-inch screen setup in the base trim, but every other trim gets this screen. That's 11.6 inches of screen. Now we have wireless CarPlay with the larger screen, and then there's a wired CarPlay setup with the smaller dual 7-inch screen.
For the most part, I really like using this infotainment system. The icons are very large for my very bad eyes. They're all different colors, which makes it very easy to select something out of the corner of my eye. Really intuitively laid out, and I like the physical controls that they do give you for operating the infotainment and the HVAC controls.
One problem we had with both the Impreza and the Crosstrek is connecting to Apple CarPlay. In almost any other car I've ever gotten into, you just connect the wire and then it's like, you want CarPlay? Yes, great, and then it activates. This is much more finicky. When I connected my phone, it was a convoluted process. This is the kind of thing that you'll set up when you get the vehicle, and it'll probably function fine from there on, but just know that that initial setup may be somewhat befuddling. And there's my opportunity to use the word befuddling in the review. Now it's Kiddo's time to shine. Kiddo, tell us, what is your favorite feature of the Subaru Crosstrek?
I like the gold color on the steering.
I like it too because it carries some of the design elements from the Wilderness trim that are on the outside right into the interior, and that was Kiddo's favorite feature. Now let's talk engine choices. The base engine is a 2-liter horizontally opposed 4-cylinder paired with a continuously variable transmission, and then on higher trims there's a 2.5-liter horizontally opposed 4-cylinder. Interestingly, fuel economy with both engines is exactly the same as in the Impreza, with the exception of the Wilderness trim, which knocks a few mpg off of both city and highway mileage. As you'd expect for a Subaru, all-wheel drive comes standard, and with either engine, regular fuel is fine. If you want a tow, it's 1,500 pounds max. However, if you go with the Wilderness trim, that jumps substantially to 3,500 pounds thanks to the addition of a transmission oil cooler. And for those who are wondering about a Crosstrek hybrid, there is no hybrid model available yet. Sweetie,
Yeah?
can I give you a trim recommendation?
Sure.
Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. For our trim recommendation, we're going to suggest going one level up from the base trim to the premium trim. Doing so adds smart key access, a feature I won't live without, along with this 11.6-inch screen, roof rails, an 8-speed manual mode for the CVT, and a range of other upgrades for a very modest $1,150 extra. If you're ready to buy a Subaru Crosstrek of your very own, click the Kelley Blue Book pricing link in the description below. As for the competition, similarly priced subcompact SUVs include the Kia Seltos, Mazda CX-30, and Honda HR-V. And if you're curious what we thought of the Honda HR-V, you can click right up here. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. Synopsis! In thinking about the essence of the Subaru Crosstrek, it is a value and it opens up outdoor adventure. To me, it is the U.S. Forest Service Adventure Pass of compact SUV hatchback kind of things. That Adventure Pass is only $30 a year. What a value! Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Subaru Crosstrek. May I have a 5? And a 5? And you! Come get your high five. Bam!